wagon train to your heart. It's the GameCritics.com podcast, show number 49. Square root is 7. I'm Tim Spaeth. Let me tell you something. I love you. And let's welcome the cast. Let's welcome the cast. It's founder and owner Chi Kong Liu.
Hey, how's it going, Tim? I love you too.
Senior editor Brad Gallaway.
Hey guys, let's just be friends for right now, okay?
Horror geek Mike Bracken.
I'm like a wagon train to your eardrums.
So true. Man of action Richard Nyack.
Dobry večer, everyone.
And that to you as well. Folks, our main event this week, tragic games. Games that could have been, probably should have been, much better than they were, if not for a critical or fatal flaw. It should be a lively discussion packed with the negativity you've come to expect from us. We also have a new segment. It's called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. We'll do that at the end of the show. But first, it's time for our quote of the week. Sound effect! Now, we always start the show with a quote of the week, except we haven't done it in like 6 months. The way this works, my assistant Felipe brings me a sealed envelope. Here he comes now. Inside this envelope, a quotation from a member of the gaming media or industry at large. We will read and comment on the quote, and none of us, including myself, are privy to its contents. I will open it now. All right, here we go. This week's quote comes from the Twitter website, and the tweetor is our friend Doc Brown. Doc Brown, of course, the co-host of the Gaming the Media podcast. Does anyone know what Doc Brown is a doctor of? Is that
No.
It's not a medical thing. It's like a scientific thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's some sort of researcher.
He's always talking about the lab.
the lab? He's that kind of doctor.
Yeah.
It's important. We love Doc Brown. He's great. He's a funny guy. He's a creative guy. And this is his quote. He says, "I need every game to allow me to save anytime, anywhere. I'm an adult. I can't wait until the next checkpoint." That is his quote. We thank you, Doc Brown. Does anyone hear, I'll edit this out. Does anyone hear a horse neighing behind me?
I did hear that, yes.
That's one of my kids' toys that just went off spontaneously.
Nice. A little paranormal activity at your house.
Very strange. It's one of those magnet puzzles where like you put the horse with the magnet and then you put it in and then it neighs. You probably have that little Melissa and Doug puzzle. Just went off on its own. All right. Anyway,
Freaky.
so that's our quote. Now we had a very minor version of this discussion on Twitter when Doc made this quote, and I guess let me open the floor to you fine gentlemen. Do any of you disagree with Doc? I would imagine it would be very hard to disagree with Doc, but does anyone have a dissenting opinion here?
I disagree with about 2/3 of that, or 1/3 of that statement. The exact quote I believe was, "I should be allowed to save anytime, anywhere." Actually, now that I think about it, I do disagree with that statement. But the core of this argument is, should game designers guard against human nature in the name of maintaining balance or a suitable level of challenge or something like that? I think that answer is yes, which is why I don't think the ability to save anywhere, and I mean anywhere, is appropriate for all games. If you look at, say, the Prince of Persia games, the Sands of Time series, almost the entire game is composed of you running through what are essentially obstacle courses. I think Sands of Time would be ruined if you had the ability to save in the middle of a jump or while you were hanging off a wall or something. It would just ruin any excitement that might be there. Another thing is, I personally hate mid-boss save points. It absolutely kills any tension or excitement that boss might have. If a boss fight is too long to actually need a save point, it's too long. If I die and then respawn from a save or something, I don't want to see a half full health bar. I'm all for frequent saves to minimize frustration for frequent save points, but a game asking me to go from point A to point B or do this task all at once without saving is reasonable under the right circumstances.
So it's game dependent.
Correct.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
So I don't think I would disagree that, and you probably wouldn't save in the middle of a jump in Prince of Persia. There goes the horse again. You hear the horse?
just leave it in. It's ambient.
Yeah, it's no big deal. You can barely hear it.
So I agree that you probably wouldn't. You would probably wait until you land at the end of the jump to hit the save button. But I think what Doc is saying here, and correct me if my interpretation is wrong, guys, I think he's saying that as a matter of convenience, that as an adult, he may need to get up from a game at any moment and answer the door or finish cooking dinner or just be able to end a game at any moment and restart it from that exact same point as a matter of convenience. I think regardless of what's happening in the game, he's looking for that.
Okay, so I don't disagree with Doc Brown that as a matter of convenience that we should be able to stop play for whatever's going on in our life, and I think the DS is actually great for that. At any game at any point you can fold the clamshell and it'll effectively put the game in a sleep mode. So I think that addresses what he was trying to talk about. Where I disagree with what Doc Brown was saying is that games should be more padded with more checkpoints or save points for the sake of that convenience. And when I think of save points and checkpoints, I think about Halo and and I really think that game is kind of lesser for having those constant save points, because I just don't value my life in that game. I just feel like I'm kind of immortal. I'll die and I'll just run, start all over again, die again, and just keep, just going through, treating it like as a trial and error type of game, as opposed to like a GoldenEye where you really have to, get good at the game. You really have to like study the level and, really, think and act like a spy. Whereas, in Halo, it's just pretty mindless for me.
That's a good point, you guys. I mean, it's my initial reaction was going to be, I think you should save anywhere. But I mean, hearing what she has to say about Halo, and I'm sure there's dozens of other games where you can just save and it doesn't really matter where you die. I mean, that is a good point. I mean, I definitely think that level designers take the time to craft some good experiences, well, in the good games anyway, and it does kind of cheapen it a little bit if you can take 2 steps, save, make sure you don't die, take 2 more steps, and then, I mean, that is kind of crap, and it does take away from the experience. But at the same time, as a father of 2, as someone who is sometimes called away unexpectedly to work, as someone who has, a life outside of games, there have been plenty of times when I just did not have a save point nearby and had to shut a game off and just walk away from my progress. And to me, if I had to choose between the feeling of progression and of skill building by having limited saving opportunities, or having that be a little bit lessened but having the convenience of being able to save anywhere, I gotta say, I think I would just lean towards the save anywhere, just because I'm not 16 anymore. I mean, I have things to do, and life just gets in the way sometimes. So I think that you guys both have really good points, but I think in this particular case, I'm definitely leaning towards convenience myself.
I just don't think that I just don't think that convenience should be that all-encompassing factor when it comes to.
You're not married and you don't have kids, Richard.
No, I don't, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. But still,
Richard, I want you right now. Go make a baby. Then come back and you continue this discussion.
All right.
I, on the other hand, agree completely with Doc. I'm 100% in favor of people being able to save anywhere at any time, because I don't think most of the arguments I've heard against it are really. They sound good in theory, but I think when you look at them practically, they don't make a lot of sense. People have been able to save every 2 steps in PC games since like the dawn of time. It hasn't ruined PC gaming. In single-player games, if you want to save, if you don't want to save, nobody's forcing you to save every 2 steps. That's up to the individual player. It doesn't affect anybody else, and if you want to save and make the game easier or screw with the difficulty curve, then that's your business. You're affecting your own experience. It seems silly to force the rest of the world to to work with an arbitrary system of developer design saves just because a certain group of people can't control themselves and play the game properly.
But it's not the player's responsibility to impose rules on himself. That's the game's responsibility.
No,
I shouldn't have to work to make the game harder if I wanted to.
Why the fuck do we have to have save points to make the game hard in the first place? Why can't developers design a game that's challenging? Why do we have cheat codes and god modes and all that?
So you can cheat?
Yeah, so why is this any different? How is this any different?
Because it's part of the game's design, and like I said before,
it's not.
Asking a player to just do something all at once.
Asking a player to only to play the game on an arbitrary save system because you can't control yourself and not save every 2 steps is bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. No, it isn't. It is not reasonable at all.
Wait, Mike. So let me ask you this, Mike.
It's completely bogus.
Let me ask you this, Mike. So do you turn on the God mode for every single game that you play?
No, but it's there if I want to. So,
yeah, but
I play. I don't save every 2 steps either. But why shouldn't I have that power? Why should I be forced to play a game according to a single player game, no less? Online is something entirely different. But why should I be forced to play a single player game with an arbitrary set of you can save here, but you can't save here? The only reason we had that in the past was because games couldn't incorporate a save anywhere thing. That was why we had it. It wasn't physically possible for console games to save anywhere. Now we've moved past that. All it is now is a crutch for developers to make games arbitrarily harder instead of actually putting effort into designing scenarios that engage players and make the game challenging on their own.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all.
It is. I mean, how often do you play a game that it's hard because you have to go so far before the next checkpoint? That's why a lot of games are hard, because you'll get stuck in an area and have to keep playing it over and over and over. It's not because the game itself is hard. It's because there's so much stuff you have to do before you get to the next checkpoint.
Not necessarily. I mean,
how many shooters have you played that way? There's a ton of them.
Well, let's make a couple of other distinctions also. First of all, because I'm more against the checkpoint as opposed to. I'm not pro save point by any means. Yeah, that's a an old archaic mechanism. I'm less a fan of just the auto checkpoint, just because, like I said, it just makes the game so mindless. As one point, my other point is just. I'm not necessarily against being able to save anywhere. I didn't have a problem with it in Oblivion. I didn't have a problem with it in Fallout. I just think certain experiences, we wouldn't have gotten certain types of experiences if all games had an autosave point. One game would be, for example, GoldenEye. Another game that we all love, Demon's Souls. It just wouldn't be the same game, and
and that's really just what I'm saying is that I'm not against the idea at all. I mean, I'm fine with that concept. I mean, I just don't think it works in all games.
It wouldn't change the game at all. It wouldn't change the game at all. No, it wouldn't, it wouldn't, because nobody's fucking forcing you to save. How would it change the game? You don't have to save.
It's
human nature. No, it's human nature. It's human nature because you want to do it. I don't do it. I know a ton of people who don't do it. So because you might do it, the rest of us should suffer with the arbitrary system.
I think
because guys like you can't
guard against human nature.
That's such a load. That's such a load of shit. I mean, absolute bullshit. I mean, because you can't control yourself not to save every 2 steps. The rest of the gaming population should have to sit around.
No matter what kind of game it is, that is a load of bullshit.
No, that's a load of bullshit that you think it changes a game because you could save every 2 seconds and nobody's making you to do it, but because you would do it, that changes the game.
Ridiculous.
That's on you.
Okay.
That's on you. That's not on anybody else.
Okay. First of all, I have a huge smile on my face because we're actually arguing, and I'm so happy about that. Let me say this. When I played first-person shooters on the PC, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, I played all of them. I just constantly playing first-person shooters on the PC. I was the guy who quick-saved every 10 seconds.
Yeah, so was I. That's what I'm saying.
So that's my fault?
No, it's not your fault at all. I'm just saying.
So I should be punished because you guys suck and can't go 10 seconds without saving?
No, I am
The rest
saying
of us should suffer?
in that kind of game, it works. In, say, Half-Life, it's perfectly
And
fine.
even taking that a step further, so what? You're controlling your own experience. If you want to save every 10 seconds, doesn't fucking affect me, doesn't affect anybody else. Why? That's on you. Why should I care?
What the hell does that even mean?
Because you're complaining about something you're doing. If you save every 10 seconds, that's your fault. You're ruining the game for yourself.
I'm not complaining about being able to save every 10 seconds in some games. What I was saying,
be able to save any game at any time. It's just a matter of convenience, and it's common sense.
It's not something you should put on all games in any way. It's just not appropriate to say that you should be able to do that in any game anywhere.
If GoldenEye had a save anywhere type feature, it just would have been a completely different game for me. Would it have been a lesser game? It's hard to say. I think it would have been. It wouldn't have put the kind of pressure on me to play the game with the kind of precision that I had to. And I appreciated that. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I certainly appreciated that. And
so Chi, just to clarify then, so if for example GoldenEye had a save anywhere feature, do you think that you would have, used it every 10 seconds, or do you think you would have cherished the experience that you're describing and had restraint to not save every 10 seconds?
I definitely would have used it for sure. I wouldn't. Come on, I wouldn't have put that. I wouldn't have saved. I wouldn't have saved it every 5 seconds, and But at the same time, I think it would have taken a lot less pressure off me to play the game a certain way. And again, I'm not sure that's right or wrong. I think the game was definitely a better game for not having save points in it.
Let me throw something out for you guys to put a little bit of a different spin on this, because I do think that Richard's got a point. I do think that Mike has got a point. And actually, I think Chi's got a point. So I think I'm really happy with everybody right now. But to kind of change this discussion a little bit, what about just for convenience sake? And I'm not talking about a save where you can die, reload the save, and try again. It's like one of those, I forget what you call them, like the hot saves, like sometimes where...
You mean like a suspend mode?
Yeah, like for example, like let's just say that you just have to go to work or you just have to take care of your baby. What would you guys think about a mode or a feature where you could just pause or stop the game, but once you come back to it, like it's gone, like you can't just abuse it and respawn over and over and over. I mean, would you guys?
So something like what the DS does when you close it.
Basically, yeah, just something that lets you have that lets you take care of real life and put the game on hold. Not necessarily saying that you're going to put an infinite spawn point for yourself, every 10 seconds so that you don't lose progress, but just something where you can just step away from the game for 2 seconds and not, like Richard said, not like ruin that experience. I mean, would you guys be okay with that?
That's fine. And actually, now that I think about it, Valkyria Chronicles had something very similar to that, because like you can't quote unquote save in the middle of the missions, but you can do like a temporary save, or maybe it wasn't Valkyria Chronicles.
No, I think it was. Yeah, there's lots of games that have a suspend where you can pause, but you can't. Once you reload it, like it's gone.
No, it was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Shiren the Wanderer does it. I can't conceive that anyone would disagree with the ability to do that. It's a suspend state. You have it for Virtual Console.
In consoles, they tend to call that the quick save, but in PCs, that's not what the quick save is. The quick save is F5 in the PC.
Yeah, quick saves is like 2 steps F5, 2 steps F5, 2 steps F5.
Right. So would you guys say then that hot save, quick save, whatever you want to call it, suspend save? So would that be the answer to everybody's argument? I mean, I think people could stop.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, but that's not necessarily what Mike is saying. But
well, yeah, Mike, what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that's a reasonable compromise, or what do you think?
Yeah, it's the compromise for sure. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, and honestly, I don't have a problem. I do have a problem with like mid-boss saves and things of that nature. I'm not saying like you should be able to break up like a scripted event, like a boss fight or something like that, like something like that. I'm saying though, like when you're out in a world and you're running around random battles and shit, you should just be able to stop anywhere. So if you could do that, that's fine. I can live with that. Again, because you're not going to abuse that. That's probably the best compromise. I would think.
Yeah, if we're talking about an RPG or if anything like Chi was what was saying, with any sort of open world experience, then yes, I think you should be able to save anywhere. But if it's anything like when you're running through an obstacle course or anything like that, that's basically the challenge is to get from point A to point B all in one try, I think anything more than like that suspend save would I think that would hurt it.
A mid-level save in Super Meat Boy would be missing the point completely, because you're right. The whole point of Super Meat Boy is to measure your dexterity with a controller from point A to point B. But I guess I go to the other extreme. I want mid-boss save points. I think back to God of War. It was the original God of War, and that boss there had 3 distinct phases, and they all sucked. So why would, if I die on phase 3, why would I want to go back and play a crappy phase 1 and a crappy phase 2? And I guess what I'm saying is,
do you actually have to go back to the first phase?
Not in God of War. God of War does it well. But,
so I was going to say, if I remember correctly, you didn't have to, but go ahead.
No, and I appreciated it because all the phases of that fight sucked. So I guess what I'm saying is, if the content sucks, don't make me replay it. If the content is awesome, like, say, the final boss of Batman Arkham Asylum, which had 3 phases, and you did have to replay all the phases, but it was fun. If the content doesn't suck, I don't mind. But if it does, give me save points. I'm just a guy who hates replaying content. The final boss in Final Fantasy XIII is a perfect example. You play that boss for 10 minutes, and then it shifts to the second phase, and you die instantly. Well, to get back to that point, I have to replay the 10 minutes. If I could have saved at the 9-minute mark, I may have actually taken the time to finish that game. But, it's... If the content sucks, don't make me replay it. I guess what I'm saying.
I think Tim, is that your message to the developers?
Yeah.
If your game sucks. How about if your game sucks, don't put it out? But
so what I'm saying is, and whether it sucks or not is subjective. So make it a universal standard that you can save anywhere, and let the player decide if it sucks bad enough that I'm going to use save points. Give the player the power. That's my feeling.
I think your message is make bosses not suck.
Yes,
which I totally agree with.
I think we're all on board with that one.
Modern boss design is crap, and I agree with that.
All right. Well, let's. Any final points anyone wants to make here? I think we have reached a consensus on at least the suspend points. I love the fact that we were arguing. The tension between Richard and Mike was palpable. Your hatred of one another, I can see it on the screen.
Definitely.
It's great.
It's intense hatred.
It really, really is.
We're gonna have a grudge match later.
Just wait till the next time the Chiefs play the Steelers. Then it'll be really ugly.
It's gonna get real ugly.
And I'll probably be crying because it'll be losing 34-2 in like the second quarter.
All right. Well, guys, that's our quote of the week for this week. Let's pause for a music break. When we return, tragic games, tragedy. Stick around. Well, I think we've all cooled down a bit. Our rage has subsided. Let's get into our main event, tragic games. And Richard, you proposed this topic, so I'm going to turn immediately to you and ask you, what inspired you to talk about this, or what inspired you to want to talk about this on the show this week? Games with critical flaws. What inspired you?
It was actually nothing in particular. It's just something I've been thinking about for a little while, because it's just I've noticed a few games over the course of the 20 or so odd years that I've been playing games that just it's something that I think would be really good if they just, like, that was the question I would ask. It's like, man, this would be really good if they just blank, like if they just fixed this, or if this was just here, something like that. And there were two, and there are actually several that I could probably think of, but there are two that really stand out. One is Heavy Rain, which I'm not going to go into huge detail about because we already had a whole podcast about it. But it was basically like, it was really just held back by sloppy writing, and I think if they had just taken a little bit longer to rewrite it and just go over some of the flaws in the story, I think it would have been fantastic. And the second game...
Well, hold on, Richard. Hold on, because I'm going to go over to Mike, and I'm going to... I'm going to...
You want to start this again?
I'm going to...
This is what's going to happen?
Let me just hope the bear again.
I'm just... I'm unlocking the leash, the chained leash around his neck, and I'm going to let Mike go free for a moment. Mike has recently finished Heavy Rain. Is there anything you'd like to say to Richard?
Wait, Tim, you didn't go release the bracket.
Oh, man. Oh, you got to go back and record that, dude. That would be epic.
Oh, gee, brilliant.
Brilliant.
What? That's
so good.
That.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it calmer this time. I feel bad for ranting. I'm a little cranky this week. I liked Heavy Rain. I've read a lot of people talk about the problems with this game, and I understand some of where they're coming from, but I don't think it was as poorly written as some people like to make it out to be. I think the game makes sense in a certain way that's probably not obvious to everyone. It's a little more obvious to me because of my film background.
I can't believe you just said that.
What's that? What?
It was like
so condescending.
And condescending.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't want to get into this big thing. Like I was trying to have this discussion on Twitter with Richard, and it's like hard because it's only 140 characters, and I don't want to get into this thing here talking about, like, because there's a genre of film in Italy, a type of thriller that Heavy Rain, to me, and I've never heard David Cage talk about this, and I would really like to find out, if it was an influence or not, because if it's not, it's a really interesting coincidence. But Heavy Rain's story draws some elements from these films from Italy from the 70s, and if you view it in that light with that knowledge, it doesn't make the story great or anything like that, but it makes all the little things that people nitpick about the game make a little more sense. So I have like this weird affection for Heavy Rain because I love those kind of giallo films and everything.
See, I'm
wait,
the kind of...
wait. I get what you're saying, Mike. I get what you're saying, but you got to listen to yourself for like 2 seconds.
No.
I think it makes sense if you think of it as an Italian film from 40 years ago.
Well, no, because that's not true. But that's not true because the giallo filmmakers are still around, and Argento is still making those kind of films. So I mean, his last film was called Giallo, and it was exactly that kind of film. So I mean, they're still around. They're just, their heyday was back then, and it's actually interesting because they are what gave birth to American slasher cinema. So I mean, there's definitely this tradition is carried on. That was just, they were incredibly popular in the 70s. So
me, I'm the kind of person that, like, I'm a connect the dots kind of guy. Like when I watch a movie, it's like I'm connecting the dots. It's like, and especially in a murder mystery, which is what Heavy Rain basically is, I want all the dots to connect. It's like I want that one moment where there's the big reveal of who the killer is, and like everything just clicks. And in Heavy Rain, that moment just raised like 10 bazillion more questions. So that's why it just kind of went downhill from there. Like I'm the kind of person that loves a movie like Memento. Because that's like the whole movie. Like that's all. Right. It's just connect the dots, connect the dots, connect the dots. So
yeah, and that's the thing, that's like the difference between these two things. Like you're like a fan of like American thriller films where the connecting of the dots is really important, where these Italian thrillers were way more interested in like mood and atmosphere, and they didn't really care about everything making perfect sense after after the movie ended. So yeah, I totally understand
why they're so popular in America.
Dude, they are popular in America though.
House.
Oh God, what a dick.
You're talking to me or Brad?
No, Brad.
Yeah,
that was
for me.
All right. Well, Richard, I know Heavy Rain was not not your primary motivation for this topic, so I'm guessing it's a Star Wars game that's coming up, but you surprise us.
Yes, it is a Star Wars game. It's actually Knights of the Old Republic 2, which was I was thinking I don't know what got me thinking about this game, but I just started thinking about it. I'm like, Knights of the Old Republic 2 would have been really great if. And I mean, Knights of the Old Republic 2 had some really good ideas behind it. In contrast to the first game, they added a way for you to influence your party members' force alignment that was not in the first game. The main villain, Kreia, is, I think, one of the best written characters in all of gaming. The idea of just the exile and the path that you follow through the game works, I think, really well in contrast to Knights of the Old Republic 1. But I mean, this game was famously rushed out by LucasArts, so I mean, it was really buggy. In this case, it was an Obsidian game, but this case, it wasn't Obsidian's fault because LucasArts made them develop it in a year. There were huge parts of the story just missing. Major plot points went nowhere. The ending levels in particular feel extremely sloppy. Overall, it's just a really unpolished game. And what's worse is if you look on the disc, or at least the disc of the PC version anyway, you'll find a lot of extra dialogue files that have the story segments that were cut, but then they're on the disc, but they're not actually in the game. So it's just the wasted opportunity is just staring you in the face when you look at that stuff. It's just it could have easily surpassed the first game, but it didn't because it had so many problems.
Did anyone else on the panel play KOTOR 2?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Would you agree with Richard?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Definitely such a disappointment after the first game, for sure.
Yeah. And on a side note, there was a mod in development that was apparently released a couple of years ago by some fans that restores a lot of the stuff that was cut but still on the disc. I haven't tried it since my Knights of the Old Republic 2 disc was either lost or stolen, which is Exhibit A as to why I don't deal with discs anymore. But so I don't know how much was actually fixed. But even then, still truly a lost opportunity.
Could you save anywhere in KOTOR 2?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
Just checking.
Just asking.
Just curious.
I'm 99.9% that you could.
Yeah, I think you could.
Well, this is a good topic, Richard, and those are two good choices. Although I didn't play KOTOR 2, but I think that seems to be the general consensus on it. We all brought some tragic games to the table, so let me turn to Brad Gallaway now and share with us your tales of tragedy.
All right. Well, the first one, I've got a couple, but the first one is going to be a little bit contentious because I know this game actually has a pretty rabid fan following. But for me, one of the biggest missed opportunities I've seen recently was Earth Defense Force 2017, released on the Xbox 360. Are you guys familiar with Earth Defense Force?
Yeah, I haven't played it, though.
Oh, okay. Well,
but I do know a lot about it.
For those that don't know, you play some kind of a special Power Rangers-ish kind of assault team, and the point of it is to shoot hordes and hordes of these giant bugs. Like, literally, they are like giant ants and spiders, and I think there's a couple robots. There might be a dinosaur or something. So, I mean, it's really just like this over-the-top, crazy, shooty, really kind of, tongue-in-cheek kind of action. And I'm down with that. Like, I thought the concept was great. I mean, I bought it when it came out, and I thought it was something that should have been right up my alley. But in Earth Defense Force 2017, every single thing in that game is bad. Like, there's zero collision, there's zero AI, the difficulty is just completely just, like, fucked in the bin. Everything about the game is terrible. I mean, graphics are terrible, the sounds are terrible. Nothing about it is good. So I think the concept was really, really good, but it just turned out to be a tragedy because just the game was a pile of steaming shit. And I think the thing that makes it, like, even worse is that it has, like, this giant fan following. Like, tons of people totally wrote in hate mail when I trashed the game on our site in the review, and I just don't see that there's anything to celebrate about this game. Now, there is a sequel coming out, and it has jetpacks, and that was one of the things that was missing the first time, which I think could be a very positive thing. And I think that if they actually include collision detection and maybe some AI, that might be good too. But I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, I think that there's potential there. But man, Earth Defense Force 2017, pure tragedy.
I think it's very important we all take note that Brad just made good on one of his gaming resolutions.
There was. You caught it, right?
We all caught
I was
that?
going to say we all caught it.
Nice.
Good. Well done. So none of us played Earth Defense Force, is that correct?
No, I've wanted to for a long time, but I've just never gotten around to it.
Yeah, same here. I got the disc, but haven't played it.
I just haven't. Yeah.
So Brad, we'll take your word for it.
Trust me.
We do.
What else do you have, Brad? Something that perhaps commoners have played?
It's funny that as I was thinking, I spent a lot of time thinking about these, and I had a really hard time at first. And it turns out that most of the ones I came up with were a little bit on the fringe. I mean, that kind of makes sense since I play a lot of fringe games anyway. So I'm not really sure if you guys have played any of the ones that I'm going to call out. I mean, I think, Mike, you've played Gun Valkyrie, haven't you?
Yeah.
So Gun Valkyrie, have anybody else played Gun Valkyrie?
No.
I played a little bit of it.
I watched someone play it for like 15 minutes once.
It's probably the best way to.
That's probably the best way to experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, Gun Valkyrie was a game put out by Sega, and that was a game all about being in a jetpack, which is one of my most favorite things. Which is weird because games don't really do it that well. But you're in a jetpack, and you again shoot giant bugs. Another
bug hunt.
Bug hunt, and I mean you're just in space and you're running around. I mean, to me, giant bugs shooting jetpacks. I mean that's all you really need to have a good game. But with Gun Valkyrie, the controls of the jetpack were so just arcane, like they were just impossible to understand unless you watched somebody like on YouTube, or like if you watched like the opening movie and you watched it all the way through, you could kind of see how the game was supposed to be played, but it didn't make any sense when you first started it. Like you were supposed to get in the air and then boost, and then the boost kind of did something to your boost meter, so if you did it right, then you kept boosting, and it was like all you wanted to do was just like, kick on the jets and fly around and shoot bugs, but just the controls were so crazy. And once you finally figured out what the game was about, I mean, really it was about pulling off jetpack boost combos, which isn't really the most intuitive thing if you ask me. So Gun Valkyrie was a game that I hated. And I kept having these people say that it was good, and I didn't understand how they were possibly saying it was good. And I actually quit it and then came back to it, and then I hated it and I quit it again. And then I came back to it again. And then the third time, I finally got like a little nugget of what I was supposed to get from it, I guess, ideally. And then I played it all the way through and finished it. And at the end, I still thought it sucked. But, I mean, it was so much potential. There was so much potential there. So that, to me, was truly a tragedy. I mean, that jetpacks, guns, outer space, chicks in metal bikinis, I mean, that should have been the perfect game. Seriously.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I actually liked Gun Valkyrie, but I agree with the problem is that it's very obtuse and it doesn't lend itself. The learning curve is very steep, and for me, I always thought of it like comparison-wise. It was like for me, it was like learning how to skate backwards. Like I understood the concept of how you were supposed to move your feet to skate backwards, but like my brain could understand it, but my body couldn't do it. And that was how like learning how to play that game was. Like when it finally clicked, it made perfect sense. But until it did, it was like the biggest pain in the ass game I've ever played. So it definitely a tragic quality to that one for sure.
I wanted to just ask, what was the name of the spiritual successor to that game that appeared on the GameCube?
Oh, there was one?
Wasn't it? It was the same. It was like another chick, but she had those funky moves that were kind of like
You're thinking
semi-sexy.
of Piano 3.
I was going to say Piano 3.
Right,
yeah.
right.
They weren't related, really.
That wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't.
I know
really like it.
I wasn't a sequel, but wasn't it sort of considered a spiritual successor in some ways?
I think only in the sense that it was difficult to control.
Difficult to control, yeah. It was another game that had a lot of potential that just didn't quite work, and you were like really frustrated because you could see where it could have been good, but it sucked. Type deal.
There you go. Yeah.
I actually saw that for like $2.99 the other day. Almost bought it.
It's worth $3, but it's funny to pick that up, Chi, because I think in Gun Valkyrie and Piano 3 both are perfect examples of when you look at the game, it's like you think you know what it's going to be like, and you think you know what it's about, and then when you actually get into the game, it's something completely different, and it's not at all what you want it to be. And yet, for me, like both of those games, I played and finished both, and I didn't like either one. But it was like I was so mentally invested in trying to like get out what I wanted from them that I forced myself to go through them. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but it was like, attractive chick, guns, robots, armor. It's like everything that I like, and yet the game just neither one was good. And
it was it was like Nightshade was like that, the same kind
God,
of
yes.
and it's one of those cases where developers have obviously just overthunk it. We have all these awesome things, just leave it at that, don't overcomplicate it, and they always do, and that's what happens.
There you go.
Yeah, great point.
Brad, what else do you have?
I think, I got a couple quick ones, and again, they're kind of a little lesser known titles, but I think a more recent one would be Folklore on the PS3. Sony was kind of behind Folklore, and they were trying to position it as being like the next big RPG before it came out. And really, like it should have been. It had a really cool idea. It was almost like an adult version of Pokemon, and I don't mean that in like the sexy sense. I mean like it was dark.
Nobody was getting it on with Pikachu.
Exactly. Like there was no actual physical contact or anything, but it was
Charizard.
Grown-ups. It was dark. It was scary a little bit. Like the monster designs were kind of creepy and cool, and you did basically the same thing, but you played it in real time, which is something that I've wanted from Pokemon forever, and I'm never going to get, but it's a dream that I have. So it was a really cool thing, but I think that the thing that made it such a tragic play, and I think the thing that led to its demise, was that the story just never came together. It was an interesting tale, split in half, about a detective and a girl, and their stories kind of intertwined, but the story didn't come together. There was lots of bits missing from the tale, and also in going through the game, you had to play each person's section twice, so it was like the same environments, even though there were a few changes. But it just felt really boring and fresh and not fresh to go through the same segment a second time. And so if they had streamlined the gameplay and actually fixed the story, I think it really would have been like a really big win for, I think it's Game Republic, who's also responsible for the recent Majin, which also tanked. They're a talented studio, but they just make these big mistakes, and it's a shame that they don't fix them.
Yeah. Folklore, I think. I think I bailed on it after, I want to say, about 5 or 6 hours. Atmospherically, I think they did really well. I think they created an interesting world, but it's exactly what you were saying. It just doesn't come together, and it just gets way too repetitive.
Yeah, and the really interesting thing about Folklore too is that it actually had quite a bit of DLC support, especially in Europe. And I went and I got some of the DLC, and a lot of that DLC really plugs some of the holes in the story. I mean, not to the point of where it fixes everything, but clearly the developers at some point thought, "Oh shit, we left all the important stuff on the cutting room floor. Let's put it back in." So it's unfortunate that they didn't catch that sooner, because I believe that very, very few people even knew that there was DLC out for that game.
Yeah. I wish Knights of the Old Republic 2 had gotten the DLC treatment.
Brad, I think you had one more in your pocket. Do you want to name check that real fast, and then we'll move on?
Sure. My last one was Disaster Report for the PS2. It's actually one of my personal favorite games.
Yeah, good
Survive
choice.
an earthquake in a city. And so there's all these kind of really interesting survival things that you do, lots of variety in the gameplay, lots of really fresh ideas. The tragedy with that game was it was just really, really rough. I mean, the production wasn't anywhere near where it needed to be. And the second tragic thing was that they had this weird fetish with water. Like, your character would die of thirst if you let him go more than 5 minutes without taking a sip of water. So instead of dodging falling rocks and stuff, the whole game became about where
Finding
is the next
water.
source of fresh water. Yeah, so that was a big misstep, but still a really great game. Tragic, though. Tragic.
I always wanted to play that one, but I never got around to it.
It's good.
It's
If you
actually
get
cool.
Get past the first half hour and just let go of the water fetish thing, and it's actually really, really good.
Very good. Well, thank you, Brad. If you don't mind, I'm going to go next because mine are really uninteresting, and then we'll finish strong with Chi and then Mike. This was actually.
Don't let me go last. Mine's not that interesting.
All right, we'll let Chi go last then.
now you're putting the pressure on me. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm selling my segment.
This was really hard for me, and I thought long and hard about it, and I ended up just browsing my game shelf, looking at spines of cases, looking for any ideas, and I found two. I would hardly call them tragedies, but here goes. The first comes from 2008. If you remember, in 2008, we were all in our early 20s. Richard was 7.
Yes.
EA launched 2 original IPs in the hopes of creating the next great franchise. One of those, of course, was Dead Space, which has gone on to great success and spawned novels, and comics, and motion comics, and concept albums, and just pornography. Dead Space has been a huge success. The other franchise, the one I am going to speak about, was Mirror's Edge, or as I like to call it, The Mirror's Edge, which is a franchise that has spawned nothing. It was a game. But I think it could have been and should have been a much bigger hit. You had a strong female protagonist in Faith. She had an iconic look. You had some interesting fiction, I thought. You had the unique gameplay, the parkour, first-person parkour gameplay that mostly worked. Certainly had some failings I think would have been tightened up in a sequel. The fatal flaw of this game, of course, and I think this is universally agreed upon, was the combat. Whenever you had to fight a dude, that game came to a stop. I mean, when you were in motion, when you were parkouring, that game cooked. And you'll remember that's all the demo was. It was a killer demo, but when you were forced to fight enemies, you could run around some of them, but not all of them, and there were many gauntlets of enemies. It was just terrible. The combat was all timing-based. It was mushy. It was inaccurate. Most people I know who played the game never made it to the end, and to me, it just sort of screams of a marketing team or just guys in suits saying, it's a first-person game, you need guns and fighting. You need guns and fighting, instead of just letting the game do what it did best. And I really think the combat was the downfall of Mirror's Edge, and a potentially great franchise was sacrificed as a result. I mean, like I said, I dug the fiction, the idea that in this dystopian future, the government is monitoring electronic communication, and the only way to get messages from point A to point B is by sending them with hot chicks. I mean, that to me...
That's the future we're all dreaming of.
It is. And, like I said, it should have been a franchise. You take the combat out of that game, I think it would be. Who played Mirror's Edge? Brad, I know you played it. You didn't care for it much.
I actually didn't like it, but I did finish it, and I got the achievement where you finish the whole game without using a gun. So I did manage the hand-to-hand combat throughout the whole thing. I definitely agree with you. Combat should have been a much, much, much smaller role in the game than it was. But, actually, I would also piggyback on what you said. I think another tragic thing about Mirror's Edge were the cutscenes, which I thought were like vomit-inducingly stupid and ugly. It's funny to me because nobody really brings it up, but those like quasi-flash animation cutscenes made no sense to me at all. They totally stuck out from the rest of the game. They weren't really well done, and they were just awful. Like, they totally detracted from the overall like artistry and craft of the parkour sections. Did nobody else bothered by those?
I have not yet played Mirror's Edge, so...
I played it a little while ago. I did not finish it, but I'm basically in agreement with what Tim said. I was very into the world. Faith was a good protagonist. The gameplay of just dodging and jumping and running and all that stuff was suitably thrilling. But it just fell apart when you actually had to stop. It's like basically when the game stopped, it died.
So Tim, I think you did say this, but I just want to confirm if they took out the fighting, you think there would be enough left there to still be a very solid game, or be a great game even?
I think so. Or find some way to introduce some other kind of conflict. Or I mean, if you're going to have combat, make them. I mean, God, I would have taken a QuickTime event over what they had in the game.
Yeah,
totally.
That's sounds like Deadly Premonition. It was would have been just ruined by combat.
I find parkour games in Prince of Persia, Tomb Raider, Mirror's Edge, that anytime you have to stop and fight anything, I'm just desperate to get back to the parkour. And I would just love a game that's just that. To me, I think it would be completely satisfying. So my other game, putting aside Mirror's Edge, I think most people have forgotten about this game. And in fact, I had completely forgotten that I'd ever played it until I saw it on my shelf. And that's Super Paper Mario, for the Wii. Do any of you remember this game?
Yep.
Yep.
I own a copy.
I hadn't thought about it in years. This was released, I think, very early in the Wii's life cycle. I don't think it was a launch title, but it came out shortly after. This was the game that was the 2D side-scrolling platformer, but you could also press the A button to shift the perspective into 3D. And so there was like a Z-axis that allowed you to get through obstacles or find items. And I thought that was just an awesome gameplay technique, just creative and fun. We'd never really seen anything like it before. And I really feel like if that's all the game was, it could have been like one of the legendary Mario titles. But the problem with Super Mario or Super Paper Mario was that it was also an RPG, which is not inherently bad. And there have been good Mario RPG games. But this one in particular was the most generic Mario RPG experience you could imagine. Like, between the levels, you had to visit, wait for it, a mushroom town populated with toads. That's right, toads. And there was card collecting and baking and fetch quests and a mayor who looked like a toad.
Was it Wadsworth or Toadsworth or whatever his name is?
Who cares? I mean, honestly, who cares? It was such a drag going through these fantastic sort of action-y levels with the 3D perspective, and then after every level, you'd have to come back to the town and talk to toads and go on fetch quests. And then like halfway through the game, you discover that the town has a dark version, which is exactly as big as the light version. And at that point, you just want to do shots of arsenic. It was terrible. And to me, the tragedy here is that the 2D, 3D mechanic was so good, and it was just lost in this horrible RPG experience. And if it had just been a straight platformer, which I think a lot of people going into that game thought it was, just a straight sort of Super Mario Brothers type experience, I think it would have been much better received. I think it would have had stronger sales. Maybe we would have seen that mechanic come back. It certainly would have spiced up New Super Mario Brothers Wii, which I thought was a really underwhelming game. So to me, neither of these games I would call a tragedy, but really some potential classics that died early deaths when they didn't really have to. So, any thoughts on Super Paper Mario, if you can even remember anything about it?
I don't even think... I think it was tragic, but I just didn't even feel like there was anything worth saving in that game. So, definitely tragic, but I don't know if there was even a point to trying to fix it. So...
Yeah, I had a good time with half of it. So, like I said, that's just what I saw on my shelf. I was flirting with the idea of Wing Commander Prophecy for its gross misuse of Mark Hamill, but I will go no further. I will instead pass to Mike Bracken, who has some underwhelming choices of his own.
One underwhelming choice of my own. Yes, I went all out for this segment, clearly, as you will see. I thought about talking about God Hand, since we've all ragged on that enough over the past couple years, but I figure we did a whole big segment on that, so there's no point in talking about it. I instead went with another old standby that I know we've talked about a couple times. Another game that people, for some reason, really seem to like that I don't get, Crackdown.
Yes.
That's such a tragic game. The ability to play as a super-powered cop who can leap tall buildings in a single bound and throw cars around and shoot bullets and shit should have been like the most awesome thing ever. It's like Grand Theft Auto from the other side with superpowers. But instead, we got like a $60 tech demo that had the idea of tall buildings you could climb and jump over and cars you could throw, and basically boiled down to doing that and collecting orbs for 10 hours. I have no desire to collect orbs for 10 hours, so the game was kind of a loss for me, but the potential was really there for them to do something good with Crackdown, and I'm from what I hear, they didn't even get it right in Crackdown 2, so I guess maybe we can just finally put that franchise to bed once and for all.
That's
Oh yeah, Crackdown 2 was even worse. I mean, if you thought number 1 was a shallow experience, number 2 was infinitely more shallow. I mean, number 2 was like a platform for which you were supposed to load DLC into. I mean, it was like it wasn't even a game. But yeah, I mean,
it was just so pissing. It pissed me off so bad to pay $60 for a game that was basically. I mean, it's a tech demo. There's really no other way to describe Crackdown. It's like a really great tech demo, but it's not a $60 game.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up because I have to say I have been utterly confused by how many people think that collecting orbs is fun. I've heard a lot of people say like it makes the game for them. Like their whole reason for playing it is collecting orbs, and it's like, dude, what are you on?
These are like the same people who go through Grand Theft Auto looking for every package.
Oh my god! It's like I mean. I'll get them, but I'm not going to go out of my way, and I can't imagine spending hours.
Yeah,
it's like I hate pointless orb collection. It's something that pretty much single-handedly ruined the 2008 Prince of Persia for me. And so, oddly enough, like Crackdown, I actually finished it, and it's one of those games that I enjoyed it while I was playing it, but I'm not really sure why. I just kind of did. So, but I mean, I agree with everything that you said, but it's just, I don't know. That would be like my all-time, I know it's bad, but I still like it game.
It's your Too Human. You know?
I wouldn't say I love it quite that. I was not in sexual congress with this game.
First of all, Richard, I loved the 2008 Prince of Persia.
Yes, I know you did.
And everyone listening to this podcast right now did as well. Except for
everybody listening to the podcast.
Well, right now as we're recording it, perhaps, but everyone out there listening. And I also I enjoyed collecting orbs. I didn't go like hunting for them. Like I didn't like if I didn't see an orb, I didn't like look behind things to see if there were orbs, waiting there for me. But if I saw an orb out in the distance, I enjoyed, to go back to parkour, I enjoyed the parkour aspect of climbing things and jumping from rooftop to rooftop to get the orbs. And there was a tangible benefit for getting them. I mean, it boosted your strength and your ability to jump higher and lift more things. So, I mean, it was kind of addictive, but I didn't, I maybe got 250 of them, and they were just in the course of playing the normal game. I didn't go hunting for every last one of them. But I get when people say that they found it addictive. I get that. I can understand that. But perhaps no one else here does. So let's move on, and we'll wrap it up with Chi Kong Lu, who's going to bring it strong with his choice for tragic games.
All right, got to get powered up for this one then. All right, I had two picks. My first pick was Shenmue, which I sort of notoriously called it the Bill Clinton of video games. Just very ambitious, but at the same time, very, very flawed. And
wow, we're getting political tonight.
Fox News, Bill Clinton.
I didn't know we had Bill O'Reilly on the show tonight.
And in a lot of ways, actually, Shenmue is a lot like Too Human without Dennis Dyack and without the cybernetic Vikings. If you really think about it, right? It's just a lot.
It's just human. Then it's not Too Human.
Yeah.
Right. There was just a lot of great ideas that never actually came together. And if it wasn't like sort of the first like games. If it wasn't like during the Dreamcast era where we were starting to first see next generation games, I think if this came out like in the PS2 or in the Xbox days, we would have killed this game. But because it was sort of like on the cusp of that whole generation, I think a lot of us gave it a big pass. But just whole chunks of that game didn't make sense. The whole collectibles aspect, the fighting system, all the mini games, and it didn't really ever all come together. And you were sitting around waiting for stuff to happen, and but yet somehow I played it and I loved it. Somehow.
You spent all your time looking for sailors.
Yeah, right. So that was one of my first pick. Did anyone else want to comment on Shenmue before I moved on to my next pick?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I have spent time, like, over the past year for some reason just thinking about that game, and I've never gone back and replayed it because I know if I do, it won't hold up. I have such fond memories of it, but at the same time, when you look at it objectively now, I sit around and I think, why the fuck did we like that game? I mean, basically, you did. You went around and collected things for no good reason. You could play other arcade games for no good reason. You spent a lot of time standing around waiting for it to be the right time for something to happen. The combat engine wasn't very good, and the story wasn't even that good. So, but yet I liked the game. I mean, at the time, I loved that game. I thought that was, I guess, like you say, I think it's a great point that because it was at the dawn of the Dreamcast era, and it was like we were way more forgiving because this was like our first next gen experience, like a hint of what gaming could be, and
it did feel like for the most part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, exactly. I mean, that's exactly why we remember it to this day, was because it was reaching so far past what we had known at that time.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was. I mean, is it tragic? I mean, I don't know if it's tragic or not. I mean, I think maybe this is one where I'm kind of thinking maybe it's not tragic because I think for what it was, it's
really just a product of its time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of had to take it in context, and if you take it in context when it came out, it actually was really bold, really inventive. It tried a lot of things that games weren't even, attempting at that time. And so did they all work? And was it, at times a very tedious game? Well, sure. But, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, it really moved a lot of things forward. And I think that, honestly, I do think that that game doesn't get enough credit for pushing things forward. I mean, I could probably go back and write a long paper about how it influenced this game or that game. And in general, I'm not even really a Yu Suzuki fan, but when it comes to this particular game, I think he had a real stroke of brilliance. And even though it's not a fun game to play, I don't think that really matters because I think that it achieved so much. And working with the tech at the time, I mean, it was pretty respectable. And I mean, so to kind of follow up on that, how do you guys feel the transition went from Shenmue 1 to Shenmue 2? I mean, do you guys feel like it kind of it redeemed itself with number 2 or not really? Still tragic in number 2?
I like 2. I think 2, is obviously an evolution. I think by the time 2 came around, it's so hard for me looking back at it because I think when 2 came around, the writing was already on the wall that we were never going to see all 14 parts of that, and we were never going to see the end of this story, and so like my attitude towards 2 was like, yeah, it's great to see the next part of this, but at the same time, I know this is probably it. I'm never going to see the end type deal. So I appreciated it on some levels, but I don't think I was as emotionally invested in it because I just had that feeling, we were about to get reamed on the rest of it. So, but yeah, it's an improvement, I think, in a lot of ways. So, but it's like I say, it's hard to look back at it because you knew that stuff was coming.
I never played it. I never got around to playing part 2, but I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about it, Brad.
Oh my God, you never played number 2?
Played 2, really? Wow.
I thought of all people, you would have played number 2, G. I'm shocked. I am shocked and amazed. I never knew.
Man, you let Ryu down.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Well, if we wrote down all the games that I haven't played yet, it'd be pretty shocking actually. But anyway,
so maybe we could do that for our 50th episode. Go down G's list of shame.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Oh, what a way to celebrate 50 episodes. Yeah. Anyway, but go ahead, Brad. Let me hear you.
Oh well, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I was just going to say that I think we saw an expansion of the ideas, and I think 2 was a pretty fantastic game in a lot of ways. Still flawed for sure, but definitely better. But in general, I just wanted to go on record by saying I think that even though it was tragic, referring to Shenmue 1, I don't think that I personally would call it tragic, just because it was reaching so far and it accomplished so much that even though it stumbled, I think in general it was more of a win than a loss for me anyway. But I understand why you picked it though.
Yeah, and I don't think calling it tragic diminishes those accomplishments. If anything, it sort of like makes it more memorable. I think that's why it makes it more endearing in some ways.
In some ways, it's tragic, mostly just because you never got to see where it was all going to go and how it would have evolved if he'd have got to make the whole series. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when you get to the end of number 2, you're just like you're dying to see what
you're like
next.
And that was like that was like the worst experience for me. It's like knowing this is the cliffhanger for eternity, basically. You know.
Here's something interesting to think about, though. I mean, do you think like that game could ever exist, or the a true Shenmue could ever exist? I mean, you would think the technology would be able to do it by now, but yet they haven't even tried at this point. It's kind of weird.
I think so. I mean, I think it could definitely be done with the level of technology we've displayed today. I think it just kind of shot itself in the foot by coming out of the gate too soon. A lot of people have bad memories of it, and all of Suzuki's his chutzpah is kind of gone now because he's not really a big player these days anymore. I mean, he can't devote $60 million to Sega's money these days, and Sega itself isn't even Sega anymore. So. Yeah,
but come on, there's been games with much more worse, worser cred or ruined games that have gotten better sequel that have gotten a sequel rather.
I was gonna say, could you imagine if he teams up with like Peter Molyneux? The promises we'd hear, and then the game we'd get,
and Dennis Dyack.
Yeah, and Dyack.
It's like you will be able to control this game with your mind.
Yep.
With your eyes closed. With your feet.
You will quit living your life and just live this life instead.
Your life is actually the game. The game is your real life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Chi, was Shenmue your one and only choice, or do you have
I had a second pick, and Fabulous. that other pick was Driver. You Are the Wheelman. You guys remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That game actually came out in the first year of Game Critics, and that was like one of the first games that Dale and I weren't too happy about, and one of the first game reviews that made us outliers right off the bat.
The birth of outlying.
Right. For some reason, people excuse that first game, even though I thought it was just and again going back to it, it was a great concept. That whole 70s 80s car chase genre sounded like a great idea on paper. Something we still don't even have today, really, that's done exactly in that kind of vein. And the game was just as Brad always said, it was a steaming pile of mess. I mean, it was just nothing went right about that game in my mind. I mean, the cutscenes and the CGI were just god awful. The mission design was horrible. Technically, it wasn't that great. And it was a shame because I was a big fan of the developers of Reflections who did the Destruction Derby series. I love Destruction Derby, and if anyone could have done this game well, I thought it would have been them. But it never happened. And then the sequel came out, and this game came out a year prior to Grand Theft Auto 3, where you can get out of the car and jack other cars. So they actually beat Grand Theft Auto 3 to the punch. But again, the game was so bad that it never caught on any momentum. And then, strangely enough, the concept was still so strong that they were somehow managed to create a third sequel to this game that was, at that point, universally hated. But to me, it was just a great concept. Loved the idea of just being that courier, that driver, wheelman, and they just never were able to put together a game that was just good in any way, really.
Wasn't there a spiritual successor to Driver called The Wheelman or The Wheelman?
Yeah, and I think Vin Diesel was associated with that game too in some way, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He's the main character in that one.
Yeah.
So that would have been right around Fast and the Furious time, so that would have made sense.
I think it came a little after Fast and the Furious. Like Vin Diesel was losing a little bit of juice there at that point.
I think it was just a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that old. It's only like 2 or 3 years ago. It's not that old.
Yeah, I'm so burned out on the franchise that I didn't even bother to check it out. I just kind of assumed it sucked, unless people started saying it didn't.
So, is there any chance Driver is coming back? Are they still making these games, or is it done?
I have no idea.
Never say never.
Never say never. Dare to dream.
Maybe it'll come back when Guitar Hero comes back.
What
happened to Guitar Hero?
Oh, Guitar Hero. Oh, jeez.
Dude.
In our news segment.
G misses the news.
Activision shut down the Guitar Hero division and laid off all those people. There will be no more Guitar Heroes.
When? Oh, wow. When did this happen?
This week.
Oh, so
a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Before we get too far off on a tangent, let's all take a moment of silence and remember these tragic games. We will take one last break. We'll come back. Our final segment, a new segment, Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. Stick with us. We're coming right back. Welcome back. This brings us to our final segment. It's a new way to close out the show. We call it Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. Think of these as parting shots. Each of us will deliver a thumbs up or a thumbs down to some random topic, some random event, some random thought. Maybe it's game-related, maybe it's not. Hopefully it's not. We'll see. The thumbs, obviously, that's a tribute to the late Gene Siskel, in many ways, our inspiration, but not Roger Ebert, certainly. Certainly not.
Because he's a punk.
That's Raj, as we call him in the trades.
That's true. Good old Raj. Brad, I will give you the honor of being our first thumbs up, thumbs down participant.
Great. So to start this off this week, I'm going to give a thumbs up to Powder Milk Biscuits. Made in Minnesota by Norwegian farmers, they give shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done. Heavens, they're tasty.
Damn, we would have gotten paid for that one, dude.
We need a product. We need a product endorsement for that.
Did I use? I don't believe I used the word marketing in the introduction to this segment, but all right, fantastic. Richard, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up to Akira Kurosawa and the film The Seven Samurai, which I watched a couple days ago. It's a very good movie.
Wow, it was your first time?
Yeah, hadn't seen it before.
Awesome. Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a film about Italian emotions?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really. It's directed by it's a samurai movie about Italian emotions.
Yes, there's lots of swords in it.
Emotional swords.
Italians.
Emotional Italian swords.
It was big in the 70s.
It was.
Chi Kong Lu, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, I wanted this one to be gaming related, but sadly, there's just not anything right now going on gaming related that I can give a big thumbs up to. So I'm also going to go the film route and give a thumbs up to the Millennium Trilogy, also known as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Steered the Hornet's Nest. Really, really terrific movies. They're all on Xbox Live right now as well. I mean, not on Netflix Instant Watch. So go check them out if you haven't.
I obviously these are based on the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen the movies. I haven't read the books.
And I haven't read the books either, but it is perpetually the Dragon Tattoo is perpetually the number one most downloaded Kindle book, and I guess I feel obligated to read it. But real fast, what are these about? What's the general subject matter?
Man, I can't even describe it because all three movies are like they're completely different films. Yeah, and they all revolve around this kind of new wave female protagonist. Yeah, hacker chick. Yeah, that's really kind of. I don't even want to say it that way.
And you don't want to say it that way. Yeah,
because it sounds like it's so cheesy and everything, but they're very realistic films in a sense that they're just about people, and somehow they're able to make people interesting doing normal things. They're not doing exactly normal things, but it's played out in a very normal kind of way, and yet it's just fascinating. It is also horrifying and thrilling at the same time. It's just go watch them. It's really hard to describe.
Cool.
Mike, have you seen them yet?
Yeah, and I've only read the first book, but I've seen all three of the films. They're actually remaking the first one here in America.
I'm dreading that, but yeah.
Yeah. So.
But David Fincher's involved, so maybe
Fincher's directing, and
he's the right guy for that.
They got Mara Rooney to star in it, though. I'm a little concerned about that. So, not sure how that's going to work out.
All right. Well, good. Very good. Very good. Mike Bracken, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yes, first up, thumbs down for the Steelers losing the Super Bowl. I'm still devastated by that. A big thumbs down to the NFL for continuing to waste 30 minutes of game time with stupid fucking halftime shows that nobody gives a shit about. Years past, we've seen this trend now where we get a bunch of old rockers. This year, they try to make it young again and make everybody with a high-def television look at Fergie's fugly man face. So in 1080p, that's not pretty. I will give a thumbs up to wardrobe, though, because at least we didn't have a wardrobe malfunction this year, because the last thing I wanted to see was Fergie's penis slip out of her dress in high def. Last but not least, a huge thumbs down to me for my second segment, arrogance, in talking about Italian horror films. I was totally not prepared for that to come my way. And yeah, I'm a douche. So
Brilliant. I love it. Finally, from me, thumbs up to Stan Bush. Do you guys know the name Stan Bush?
I do know.
Sounds very familiar.
The guy who did The Touch.
Yeah. 80s rocker Stan Bush. He did The Touch and Dare on the Transformers the movie soundtrack.
Yeah, there you go.
Chi, you must know both those songs by heart.
Yeah, sure. I'm not in the mood to sing a few verses, I suppose.
Oh, come on.
But
If I start it off, will you join me?
I'll sing along, sure.
I just want you to solo. I bet if they sang it on Glee,
Sure.
you would sing.
I'll do the I'll do the guitar riff right at the beginning.
Oh my god.
All right, let's. That's great, Chi. That was great. Stan has a new song out. It's called "Heart of the Battle," and it's a fine song. It's not. It's actually not bad. It's classic Bush. Lines like "Take a stand." Stand in the fire, and it's all on the line. It's a fine song, but that's not the point. My thumbs up is for the video for this song. It's on YouTube. Just search Stan Bush, Heart of the Fire. Don't do it now. Wait till the show's over. But
I'm doing it now.
no, don't do it
now.
Don't do it now.
I'm doing it now.
I'm going
Doing
to
it now.
let me describe it first. It easily features the most implausible sequence of events I have ever seen in any audiovisual medium. So imagine, don't watch it. Let me describe it first. Imagine a young, sexy blonde, like early 20s. She comes home from a workout. So she's sweaty. She's wearing kind of skimpy workout clothes. So to relax, she sprawls out on her couch, and she turns on the television, and she's flipping channels. And nothing's really appealing to her, but eventually she flips to the Michael Bay Transformers movie. And you can see on her face, yeah, all right, okay, Transformers, cool, fine. But it piques her interest a bit, but she's like, she flips channels again, and it's the 1980s Transformers movie. And now she's excited. She's Transformers the movie, great. So, it's still not quite enough for her. So she reaches over onto her cocktail table where there is a copy of the Xbox Transformers War for Cybertron game. It's just sitting there at random. So she puts it in, and I don't want to spoil the rich narrative, but the rest of the video consists of her playing War for Cybertron online against another hot chick. And it's amazing, because neither woman has clearly ever played a video game before. Because as you'll see in the video, they aren't pressing any buttons, and they're kind of shaking the controller to get the characters to do things. But my favorite part is superimposed on the video footage of War for Cybertron is Stan Bush himself. He's jamming on the guitar, and every time you see him, the camera gets closer and closer and closer, and you can start to see his hair plugs and his Botox. and this entire video, it's just an epic cavalcade of bad decisions. And so, Stan Bush, you earn my thumbs up this week. Possibly the most entertaining 3.5 minutes you will have on YouTube. So, Heart of the Battle, thumbs up to Stan Bush. And thumbs up to you, gentlemen, for coming through big time in that final segment. I think that's a winner. So let's wrap things up for episode 49. Just a couple programming notes. First of all, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, are you a fan of Doctor Who? Anyone?
Yes.
Brad, you're
No.
a fan of Doctor Who. You are going to be joining me for a little one-off Doctor Who podcast, talking mostly about the modern series. We're going to have some very special guests. I'm really looking forward to that.
I am too.
So
Go crazy, you two. Go crazy.
so keep your
I feel the energy.
You know what,
level
Chi?
is
You're not
very high
welcome.
already.
You're not welcome. Mike, you're not welcome either. We're not talking any Italian anything on that show.
See you on the next. See you on the show after that one.
Yeah.
So that's going to be coming up in the near future if you're a Doctor Who fan.
You're not invited to my Giallo podcast, damn you.
You're not invited to the Team Fortress podcast either.
Well, that's another thing that's cooking up is our epic Team Fortress World of Warcraft showdown, which Richard, you and I, and we'll have some special guests for that. That's going to be coming out soon. But the big news, of course, GameCritics.com podcast, episode number 50. That's right, number 50. That's our next show. We have some really fun stuff planned. We've got some special guests. We've got some special music, some incredible topics lined up. I may drag out some deleted scenes, some outtakes. We will see how ambitious I feel, so don't count on much of that happening at all. But nevertheless, number 50, very big show. That's going to be coming up soon. So to you, the audience, listening, your comments, suggestions, always welcome. Post them at GameCritics.com. And if you're feeling ambitious, leave us some kind words on either the iTunes Store or the Zune Marketplace. I want to thank my co-hosts, Chi Kong Liu, Brad Gallaway, Mike Bracken, Richard Nyack. Thank you, gentlemen. We leave you tonight with a cut off Stan Bush's new album. It's called Heart of the Battle.
I knew that was going to happen.
So long, farewell, good night, and bon chance.